Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Productions studios for another edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball. And as always, I have with me Matt Shadow. How you doing?
Hello, Brian. I'm great. How are you?
Good. And joining us from somewhere abroad
It's like Waldo.
is Kevin Moulder with PBR Missouri. You're checking out the Mid-State, the Columbia tournament there. You got some good stuff coming up today, don't you?
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's a good tournament with some of the best teams in the state, and it's a fun one because it kind of brings the state together. We got the central or middle part of the state. We got St. Louis teams, Kansas City teams. We got Willard out of Springfield, so it's going to be a fun time.
Absolutely. Yesterday we had I'm sorry you missed it, but we had our inaugural live GAC Game of the Week live streamed. Mike Morgan, Matt Shadow on the call. Those guys did a great job. It was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And Mike was awesome.
He really was. He was really good.
Mike, he knows what he's doing, and he, made us all look good.
And we're hoping to, get better, get more camera angles. I thought it was enjoyable. The information was there. We don't want to just throw up some static view of a game that you normally see in these situations.
Yeah, and like we said, thanks to GAC, thanks to the coaches and everybody that helped get that going. And I think moving forward, it could be something that could be great for baseball in not only the area, but in the state.
Yeah.
So.
And that's what we've discussed. We've talked about that and hopefully getting into some other parts. We're starting with the GAC. Scott Harris has been great. Coach Goff, those guys, it's a little different for high school. They're not the coaches. We asked them to come on the field before the game and talk to us. They were very obliging. They don't have to, right?
No, it was great. And I think they see the big picture of, I think, what we see when we do games like that. It brings more attention to high school baseball. Yeah. They have, football games of the week, basketball games. Like, why not baseball?
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And hopefully, next week we should have Kevin here joining us on the call there, talking some baseball. We're going to be, we'll get to that. Let's get to the scoreboard from this week. We're starting off the GAC. We got the Missouri scoreboard. Kevin put up some new rankings on Monday for large and small schools. So let's take a look at some of this stuff around the league. Let's start with you, Kevin. You were at a game yesterday, right?
Yeah, I took in John Burroughs, who's off to an 11-1 start, playing Westminster. He's obviously a traditional power, and wanted to see that matchup, and it was a good one. Didn't disappoint. It was a 4-3 game in favor of Westminster, and their stars were stars. Jeremy Sheffield. Senior, I call him just an athlete. He can kind of do a lot of different things, and he did yesterday. Started at shortstop, hit a first-inning home run out to right field, and he also closed out the game on the mound, striking out a couple guys, getting up to 90 miles per hour. He's also played some center field or outfield. So he was really good for Westminster. And on the mound, Noah Lyon threw really well for them, going to Maryville University, senior right-hander. I think he struck out 10 guys yesterday in 5 1/3, did really well. And John Burroughs didn't disappoint either. They got a solid team. John Budka, I believe, actually started for them and, did a really solid job. That Westminster lineup is formidable. And he held them relatively in check. And, John Burroughs, I can see why they've won 11 games so far. And I'm sure they're going to continue winning ball games as we progress throughout the spring.
Very good. Matt, what you got over there? You were looking at a game before we started here.
Well, obviously we had the game that we did, but some of the other around the league, some things that I noticed from yesterday. One, we can start with, we were talking about this off camera, CBC, who I've been touting, and I've been getting a lot of flack off camera for it, but they're legit when you're ranked nationally. I mean, what do you want me to do? But they're in Las Vegas for the private school event. I don't know the technical name. I'm sure Kevin does. But they've won the first couple games. They got a big game today against De La Salle, which will be interesting because De La Salle's a California powerhouse normally.
Yeah.
But, kudos to them. They're traveling, doing a good job. The other big one was Francis South Central beating Timberland 11-6. We are pretty sure that Hatchman didn't throw, talking to Kevin.
And real quick, to Matt's point, De La Salle, not only baseball, but it's football. I don't know if anybody remembers the movie that was made about that high school coach that was played by Jim Caviezel. That was about the De La Salle football program. That's the school he's talking about.
Yeah.
Just to give some reference, if people
and
saw
that tournament is the Bishop Gorman All Faiths Classic, and that is basically heavy hitters from across the country. CBC's off to an unbelievable start. They're 2-0. They're playing teams from California. They beat a team from Connecticut. Bishop Gorman is why that might ring a bell to some. That's where Bryce Harper went to high school. So they're a heavy hitter they are the baseball program in the Vegas area. So it's a great in Vegas. They not only baseball, but they produce a lot of high end athletes. Football, basketball, baseball, etc. So they're doing very well for themselves so far this week.
And then one of the other local games that was outside of Timberland and House Central was the Howell Holt. Because I've been saying that Holt is that kind of thorn in your side type of team. I mean, Francis Howell ended up winning the game 9-7, but Holt was up 6-1 going into the fifth. And then you had Holt up going into the seventh, and Howell scored 3 runs. So Holt's a team that I don't think their record's going to show. They don't have the big, Adam Hatchman. They're not the team that's ranked in the top 25 in the country. That's just a grindy team that I think come playoff time could get a good upset somewhere. Because they're giving everybody games.
Yeah. And Chase Beatty, right? That's
Chase Beatty.
Yeah.
And I know you guys were at Zumwalt West yesterday for the game of the week and had a nice win there. But Holt took them to the wire and ended up Zumwalt West had a rally to win game 1, and then they got them in the second game, kind of to Matt's point. And we all think pretty highly and rightfully so of Zumwalt West, but I think that kind of points to what Holt has going on for them. And then they took Howell. They gave Howell everything they could want yesterday. So
yeah, they split with Zumwalt West last week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're a thorn in the side, that's for sure.
And here's the thing, and this is Monday's rankings here. You got CBC at number 1 at 10-1. Now they're 12-1 after their start there. Liberty is still up there, 11-3. I see that Liberty North has kind of fallen. Talk to us a little bit about that.
They've dropped a handful of games, but they're winning a lot of games as well. It was more of some other teams I thought had really earned it. You got Jackson, who has 2 losses right now. Their 2 losses are to CBC and to Edwardsville. So there's a situation where you can really appreciate, hey, that's and that they're going out of their way. Jackson is, for those that aren't familiar, basically the Cape Girardeau area, just north of Cape. So these guys are taking all comers. They're going up. They're coming up to St. Louis to play a CBC twice, and they beat them once. They're going to play Edwardsville, who, for the most part, most people would consider the top team on the Illinois side. So they just moved up and kind of earned it. And Timberland, until yesterday, is off to, I believe, a 10-1 or 11-1 start. So they're racking up wins. And then Nixa just keeps winning games. They're 13-0 as of rankings time. And, so then leaves Liberty North, who I really like and 100% could still be, the 6A state champion. But you drop a couple games and those other teams are racking up wins. They kind of slide ahead of you.
Yesterday also, Washington, I think if we're looking forward to next week in our game of the week between Fort Zumwalt East and Fort Zumwalt South, Washington beat Zumwalt South yesterday 5-0 at Zumwalt South. And so I think that's an interesting dynamic there. Washington's had some good wins and they've had some losses that you're kind of like, where are they? They're sitting around that 500. They'll have a good win and then they'll lose a game. But taking care of South there, that's interesting. And Zumwalt East beat Liberty yesterday. I would imagine, I don't know for certain because we couldn't find some statistics. I would imagine Bennis was on the mound.
He threw 4 innings, gave up 1 run. Yeah.
Gave up 1 run.
1 run, 4 innings, 2 walks, 8 Ks. The line really, though, was Liberty was up 5-1 going into the 5th. East scored 4. Got another one in the 6th. But they're it's going back to what we're saying here about Liberty is, we were talking about the depth of the staff, but right now Bennis seems to be throwing well. Every outing we see, he's throwing well. He's keeping him in the game. It's just whenever his pitch count's getting up there, he's going 4 or 5, and then he's coming out, and then it's, can you close the door? And right now they can't.
And that's a good win for East. They're 12-1, off to a good start. And I saw you had them in your on deck. Yeah. They're coming up and whatnot, playing good baseball. So I think we got a pretty good matchup next week, and we'll get into a little bit of that later. But there's a couple of scores that will affect, what we're looking forward to here. And, to your point, Jackson beat Central Cape Girardeau yesterday 4-2. I think there's a lot. Rockbridge, man, is rolling.
That's one team I'm excited about, excited to see over the next couple of days. And that's the beautiful thing about this tournament that they host is, you kind of can figure out, hey, here's the best team in Kansas City. Here's the best team or two in St. Louis. Because we can all connect the dots. Oh, they played so-and-so who beat them, who lost to them, etc. But that's harder to do as you spread yourself out across the state. And now in a tournament like this, we're going to get to see some of the top teams from each area match up, which will be give us a little more clarity. But Rockbridge is rolling. As a rankings time, they were 14-2, and Kickapoo just slid in there as well. They went down to Oklahoma and went undefeated in a good tournament down in Oklahoma, beat a couple ranked teams from the state of Oklahoma, which always makes me smile because they think pretty highly of their baseball down there. So we're going out of state and handling business, which is great to see.
We were talking before too, and you have them in your small school rankings, and and it's true. And I'll let Matt share a little bit about that. But we're St. Louis Patriots, the homeschool squad, got a good win against DeSmet yesterday, and and I understand Matt's point. And I'll let him make that, and it's probably true. I don't know what that looks like. Sometimes are you putting your best guy on the mound against that team?
Right. But I'm not trying to say anything bad about the Patriots.
I know you're not.
They're good. Even Kevin has discussed this. They have good players. They're doing a very good job.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see them have a run here where they play teams where teams are throwing their 1 or 2 against them.
I agree with
because and Kevin, you probably agree with me or not, but if I'm the head coach of, let's say I'm coaching at Zumwalt West and I've got Troy on Tuesday, Wednesday, well, we scheduled the Patriots on Thursday. Oh,
Or Friday, right?
correct. Or Friday. You're not throwing your top 4 guys against the Patriots because you want the conference.
Right.
So I'm not saying that's why they're 13-3, but I'd like to see them have a run against some good arms.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Matt's 100% right. If you're sitting there and you're in the GACC or MCC or whatever conference, you're going to throw your 1 and 2 in your conference games. That only makes sense. Every coach in the world's going to do that, even though they know the Patriots are really good. The only time you'd see the Patriots catch an arm like that would probably be in the first week or 2 of the season. And there's no question. They're very good. I've gone out and seen them before. But yes, they can capitalize a little bit, playing some good teams that aren't necessarily throwing their top arms, but that's not to take anything away from the Patriots because we know they're good. And they went on and won the homeschool World Series last year, and they're in that my small school rankings, and I think are deserving to be there. But obviously, they aren't a member of MISHA. They can't win a state championship. So it is something you have to kind of take with a grain of salt and look through a little bit of a different lens when judging or grading them out.
Now, and I would say this, though. If I'm the Patriots coach, I would want to see the top arms, right?
Right.
So it's nothing against them. It is what it is.
Yes.
It's just like it's college baseball. If you've got I got a midweek game and I'm playing Central Missouri and I'm a Texas school.
Right.
You're not throwing your 1 against Central Missouri on Tuesday because you've got say Baylor coming up over the weekend.
Right.
That's kind of what it is. And if I'm the Patriots, I want to see top arms. Nothing against them. It's not their fault. That's all I was saying was I want to see them.
I agree.
Good arms.
I think it's a great discussion because it's got to be tough sometimes for those kids. They want to see it too. They're trying to get better. But I don't want to leave them out of the discussion. For one, Kevin's got them ranked.
Yeah.
They're playing good schools. It's a good win for them. Did they see that? No, probably not. But I want to make sure we're covering. And this is what we're here to do. We're here to look at a more comprehensive thought process, and we're going to be honest. And I think Matt did a great job talking about that. Honestly, that's just real. That's just the reality of it. And it's tough on that homeschool team. They're doing the best they can by these kids. And, that's just the situation. So there you go.
Kevin, the St. Pius Acts out of Kansas City, are they just getting a bad draw because of weather right now? Because they've only played 6 games, maybe 7 if they play yesterday.
That's interesting. They have some high end talent, guys going to Power 5 schools. But yes, that is a head scratcher. They I don't think they're super aggressive with their scheduling clearly. And it makes it tough when you're going to the small school rankings are by far the harder rankings to compile and to do because you have situations like that. And then you have situations where Kennett will go play, they'll go play anyone in the country and they'll play the 6A schools and we'll hit a loss here and there. And then, you got Southern Boone who's played, closing in on 20 games. And then you got a St. Pius who's really good, has good players, and they've played a handful of ball games. So it's that makes that stuff really challenging to put together.
I want to close out a couple here, and we'll come back a little bit to the small school, but I want to bring this one to bear because you got them on deck, and they had a good win yesterday again, and that's Seckman. They're kind of under the radar because we're talking about some of these. But they're 9-1. They beat Clayton, which, Class 5, one of the lesser, but beat them 10-0. They got it done, took care of business, and moving on.
They're off to a great start. And in fact, last week they cracked into to the top 10. They were 10th, and they didn't lose. But kind of what we were talking about, I thought what Kickapoo did going 5-0 in Oklahoma was undeniable, and they had to be moved into the rankings. Seckman is a team we're going to have an eye on for sure. It's going to be interesting as they continue to get in their season and face some challenges and some tougher opponents to see how they do. But they're right there and off to a great start, obviously.
There you go. And I think that's one of the best things about this is we're seeing so many different teams here, and just on deck, Eureka, Seckman, Parkway West. I mean,
man,
Willard.
Eureka's great. Eureka's having a good, like that 10th spot is always the biggest challenge every single week. You have Eureka, you got Parkway West, you got Seckman. One team that might sneak onto the on deck next week. Pacific was 9-0 heading into yesterday. They went and challenged themselves. They came up to play Vianney. They lost a tight game. I think they lost maybe 3-2.
3-2. It was 3-2.
Yeah, it was a close game, and you appreciate that, and you can run up a gaudy record, and they had some rainouts and decided to meet up with a solid Vianney team and challenge themselves. So that's also good to see.
There you go. I think that's a lot of there's a lot of interest in that, and heavy hit Parkway Central, Park Hill South, Raymore Peculiar, Platte County. You've got Staley, Ozark. Ozark is quietly down there doing their thing.
Yeah, but Ozark's that's a happening area down there. There's a lot of, and Kevin probably knows this, there's a lot of Springfield shifting into Ozark. So don't be shocked if for years to come that school's going to have some players.
So you're talking about a lot of the people moving down.
St. Louis of going west.
Yeah.
So you get the Zumwalt West, and you get the Liberties getting talent. That's kind of their.
In Ozark, just to catch everyone up on that, you might think like the Ozarks, it's actually more connected to Springfield. So it's almost like Nixa and Springfield. Ozark is almost all melted into one, kind of like St. Louis and St. Charles has kind of just become, one thing almost, if you will. There's not a population gap. You know what I mean? Like geographically, there's just people spread through St. Louis from the Arch through St. Charles, and that used to not necessarily be the case. Same thing as Springfield and Ozark. It's kind of just becoming one big urban area.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially when they opened up the highway down there. That really made that deal. And we've been down there. That's where they're having the state championships. I know you're down there quite a bit. You're looking at those things. So that's becoming a hotbed, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of talent down there. We've had this conversation before, but yeah, Ozark is something that I would expect to be a mainstay within the top 20 with the kids that are coming through that area.
Wow. Finishing up here, like you said, the small schools, Kennett is once they got through that big early, they were playing some big time schools. They did well. They held their own. They're 8-3 now, moving into what their normal playing, probably their class and whatnot is showing their power. Southern Boone is still, they finally got a loss on their record. Logan, Rogersville, 9-2, Valley Catholic, Hollister, St. Louis Patriots, John Burroughs Summit Christian. St. Dominic you got on deck there, and then some of the Springfield schools that you have in the small Springfield area. Branson, Stratford is right there on 44 going down that way. So you're still got some of those schools there too as well.
Yeah, St. Dominic's in particular is one that I'm excited to. That's on my list. I'm looking forward to getting over to see them play sometime in the next couple weeks, weather permitting, obviously. But they're obviously led by Grant Richards, Coastal Carolina signee, really dynamic player, and truthfully one of the top players in the state in the senior class. So they have some talent to back that up, and they've been on a roll. They've racked up some wins over the past 10 days. So that's a team that's not going to shock me to see them crack into the top 10 here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that one doesn't surprise me either. Now that with Richards back,
Yeah, because he, I think he's when we talked to him on our player spotlight, he was fully healthy. He was ready to go. He was feeling good. The energy from him was just amazing. He's a great kid. He's a lot of fun.
He's a live wire now, isn't he? He's a fun kid.
He really is. And we talked to his younger brother a few moons ago. He's much more quiet. I don't know if he's just got, but I mean, it was just like Grant's just like, hey baby, yeah, let's talk some baseball. It was a lot of fun. So I'm sure we missed some points and places and things in here, but we're doing our best to cover as much of the state and talking about teams as best we can. So if we missed something, please comment below. Tell us about your team. We'd love to hear about it, right? And, let us know what you think. The rankings are there. Give us your opinion. Give us your top 10. There you go.
There you go.
I like it. All right, let's talk a little bit. I want to kind of recap a little bit about yesterday, what we saw. I know, Kevin, you didn't get a chance to be there with us, but Daniel Whistler, he didn't disappoint, did he?
No, and we were talking about this yesterday. He wasn't overpowering. He wasn't chucking 89, 91. He was around 85, 86. Mm-hmm. He had a good outside run to a righty. As we talked yesterday, he was getting the outer half, and both pitchers were getting the outer half.
Yes.
And then they kept going to it, which is what I think kept the score pretty low early on. After inning one, Whistler started getting the curveball over for a strike. He was throwing a couple of different versions of it. Late in the game, he started throwing a little changeup. But he had about 3 innings in a row where, it was first pitch curveball, first pitch curveball, first pitch curveball, repeat. And then again, it was, okay, now let's throw maybe a little, almost looked like he was throwing a slider and a fastball. But he pitched. He didn't just throw, he pitched. And there's a lot of upside with that kid because, he's not muscular yet. Mm-hmm. He's still very skinny, which is a plus for every college coach. If you got a lefty with natural run, he can run it up upper 80s. But I thought he pitched really well. And you made a point too during the game, as he started doing that, you said he's pitching backwards because he was working his fastball off the curveball. Yeah, he was pitching. He was definitely pitching backwards, which is nothing wrong with that. You're pitching. You threw 7 innings. So he's doing something right. And you, Kevin, you've had some dealings with Daniel. You've talked to him, whatnot. No, tell us your thoughts on Mr. Whistler there.
Yeah, he's one of the top competitors, I think, in the area. He's kind of proven himself. That's interesting about his velocity being a tick down. I saw him the week before. He was topped out at 90 and was upper 80s. But we have this talk, and we always talk about like Josh Newell happening this. He is out there playing center field. He is a linchpin for their team, not only on the mound, but in center field and batting second. So it is important to keep a close eye on some of these two-way talents as the season goes and how much their workload is affecting, their performance on the mound as well. But there's no doubt. And he, like Matt said, he's got a big upside. There's comfortably room for 40 pounds on that frame. I'm going to be shocked if he weighs above 160 pounds. I don't care what the roster says.
Right.
So, it's going to be fun to follow him over the next, as he moves on to Mizzou and, into his next chapter. That kid's going to look different when he's 21, like they all are. But that kid in particular, there's going to be some serious development and growth over the next, 3 years, even 4 years. And there's a world of potential there. And he's got a feel for pitching and competes and throws strikes. And so all the ingredients.
He'll pound the zone. Defense wasn't falling asleep behind him. The other person on that team that I want to make a note of that I didn't know of prior is Connor Stein. Prior to the game, second baseman.
Yeah.
Coach Goff said that Connor Stein's been kind of their go-to guy, get things started, get on the base pass. He's just that gritty leadoff hitter that's annoying. He had a strikeout, but he still saw a lot of pitches.
Yep.
He's that kid that everybody needs on the team, and he didn't disappoint. And Coach Goff was dead on when he described him and what he was doing for the team. As you saw in the first inning, he got on, and second AB was grinder, and he got on again. I don't know if Kevin, if you know of the kid, I'm sure you do because you've seen him play. But
right,
yeah,
Matt, that makes a ton of sense. What you're talking about, because we were sitting here a month ago and talking about, oh man, Zumwalt West lost 8 of 9 starters, and they had all worlds and all Americans and everything last year, and that's how you do it. You're looking and you're like, man, these guys are winning the Midwest Classic, in the PBR top 10 and racking up wins. How are they doing this without they have the Whistler and the Deverman and the Cooper Robertson, some in Reinl, but then you got to have guys like you just talked about. And I think that program they have just creates, they clearly have a great culture, and they have those grinders. And like you said, he might not be an All-American and a draft pick, but he is doing what they need to do to win ball games.
He might not even play college baseball just because he may not want to.
Right.
But it doesn't matter. He's doing his part. He's having his role. And I think the kid that we had, the Alagna kid playing shortstop for him, who's a sophomore.
Yes.
I see him as the next Connor Stein for their program because he was playing yesterday. Cooper Robertson also didn't disappoint. He found a lot of barrels. I thought he played really well. And then on the Troy side, Adi kept his team in the game.
That's the other kid, right?
He pitched well.
Yeah.
He threw strikes. He got into trouble, got out. But so did Whistler. I mean, they got their best friend, which is the double play. But Adi, I thought Adi threw great. He started getting the curveball working for a couple innings. Towards the end, I think he just got tired. He had to grind out the last couple of innings.
He pitched with a little more stress, right?
Yeah, he didn't have as many innings of cruising as Whistler did, but he had a couple. And then I think it was the fifth was when he started to really get in trouble. The ball was coming up.
Yeah,
they started hitting him around a little bit, and then I think the sixth they got him out because he went 5 1/3. But he did not disappoint. I thought he threw a great game, and the defense by him was fantastic as well.
And I think it's always fun because we got a chance. We brought Daniel over and we brought Caden over to talk with the guys after the game. I really liked Caden Adi. I articulate kid, really understood what he was doing, how he was doing it. I liked him a lot. Really, his whole presence and who he is as a person. I really liked him.
And Ryder, however you pronounce the catcher's name, I didn't really know him prior either, but he did a good job, I think, of being what we like to call his, sister is what we call the catcher to a pitcher. This is my sister or this is my brother or whatever you want to call it. But he did a good job. He blocked a lot of balls, saved a couple runs.
Yes, he did.
I thought he did a really good job back there, and together they kind of controlled the running game. But you got to give credit where credit's due, and I thought Adi threw very well.
Yeah, he did. Your thoughts, Kevin?
Yeah, Caden Adi, there's no question he's one of the leaders of that team, and great kid and hard worker, and he's going down to Drury, and I'm sure will be successful down there. They're a real high quality Division II program, and they're winning a lot of games themselves this year. I think they might even cracked into the top 25 in the D2 national poll. So a great spot, and look forward to following Caden Adi as well.
Yeah, and it was so funny because it was nice. I love this because we get into people. I would imagine it was his dad.
Oh yeah.
We started off just calling him Ott, because OTTE. We didn't know, and we got a comment, and I appreciate this. We really do. We don't want to get people's names wrong. That's the hardest thing for me. I want to get people's names right. I believe it was Dad. He says he just typed it's Adi, and he wrote like hottie. We're like, oh, thanks a lot.
Yeah,
that was great.
But if Kevin was there, we would have got it right the first time.
Probably true.
It's Kevin's fault.
Yeah, I'll take that one.
It's not our fault. It never is, right? But it was awesome, and it was live, and
Yeah.
he's typing. He's like, my kid's name. He's probably at the game. He's probably at the game listening, and he's like, what?
Probably, right? Yeah. So it was really a lot of fun. Big kudos to Mike Morgan for his job there. Matt Shadow, they did a great job. Justin, all the hard work he's put in
Mr. Producer.
with the engineering and all the stuff, getting things. It was successful, and we appreciate it.
It was fun.
Everybody, we're just looking forward to growing it. Next week, we're going to have Kevin with us. We'll be out at Fort Zumwalt South for the GAC Game of the Week, Fort Zumwalt East versus Fort Zumwalt South. I thought it was interesting what Mike said, and he's right, because I said it, a rivalry game, and Mike kind of, he says, well, first there has to be, East has really just kind of gotten beat up by South, so there isn't really a rivalry. They'd like it to be. And he's not wrong, right?
No, he's not.
Right?
That's true. It takes two to have a rivalry.
They don't like each other very much, but South has always kind of got the best of East. And so I think Coach Hill's looking to try and get over that hump. So hopefully we're going to see, I think we should see a good one. I think we're going to see either Braden Jackson, who I saw last week for East, is 4-0, and he has no ERA. The only runs he's allowed has been 2 unearned runs. So he could be on the mound there, or we'll maybe see Luke Abishon, but I think he's had Abishon at short. With Jackson pitching as well as he is, that might just be the case.
Yeah, and you can see Carter Cox possibly for South.
Yep.
I think they're using Abishon as the closer. He has 4 saves on the year, and that's a great way to use your closer, so you can keep him on the dirt for most of the game. And when you got that lead late, you got to have it, and you put him on the mound.
Because you said, what is he, low to mid 80s, correct? Kevin?
I would give him mid 80s,
Mid-80s.
Yeah, and it's a live fastball. It's high spin, gets a lot, like an inordinate amount of swings and misses for the velocity. There is something to it for sure, and it plays up from where it is.
So we're looking forward to seeing them. And from last week, there's a couple of guys for South. Peyton Blair's one who's hitting very well. And then, here it is. It's in my face now. Jack Dunn.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Dunn's hitting 561 right now. Peyton Blair at 500. So those guys are the catalysts for the offense for Fort Zumwalt South. So it'll be interesting. I think we got a good matchup there. Your thoughts? Do you know those guys there? Have you seen them before?
Yeah, Jackson Dunn's off to a great start. I always want to keep an eye on Mr. Cox. Carter Cox is a dynamic left-hander. They have, and was on the varsity team as a freshman and pitched and did really well. It's fun. East has that guy too, a freshman that played varsity in Jackson Carter. Seeing a Jackson Carter Cox, you see him as freshmen. It's fun to watch them mature, grow, and develop into. They're already studs for their age, but to do it on the varsity and become game changers, and those two are both off to really good starts again this year. And Jackson, has a low ERA, striking guys out. He has 13 innings and 23 strikeouts. And there's a mid to upper 80s left-hander. And it'll be interesting. They change so quick. I say mid to upper 80s, and we get there, he might be upper 80s to 90. So they're still growing physically and, developing. So it's going to be fun to watch those guys over the next 2.5 years.
Absolutely. And I think that's the great thing. We're going to get to see him. I'll leave that one alone. Guys, final thoughts? good week, right? So far, I know we may not get some games. I know as we talk about this, we are recording here on Wednesday. It'll be tough to get some games in today.
Yeah, I think right now we're more. I don't think today's gonna happen, but I think the big thing is this weekend. He's at a great event, so
yes, yeah. Keep us. We'll be on the old Twitter feed and Instagram feed there, bro. Watching.
We'll be firing them out left and right as soon as the tournament gets. It's we're going to be covering a lot of games, so 5 games in a day, and it's going to be fun. We're going to learn a lot.
There you go. And there's a good shout out right there. If you want to follow Kevin Moulder, you can follow him at PBR Missouri on Instagram. What's your Twitter?
Also PBR Moulder and PBR Missouri are both the follows there.
Okay, on Instagram and Twitter?
Yes.
Groovy. There you go, guys.
groovy.
Groovy, you like that? I did grow up in the 70s, so there you go. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you. As always, great information, great content. We hope you enjoyed it. Comment below. Let us know what you think. Hit that like button. We appreciate that. Helps grow this. We want to share it out with as many people as possible. If you like the show, share it out with your friends. See what they got to say. Love the comments. We'll be back next week with another episode. Make sure you tune in on next Tuesday, 4 p.m., Fort Zumwalt South, Fort Zumwalt East. Guys, have a great day. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and you hitters,
Hit them where they ain't. That's
that-
great advice.
oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Sweet. We'll see you next time.